Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over some of the Dynasty reveals and kind of just talk about the set as a whole, at least what we know so far. Kind of like what I'm excited for, what I'm really interested in, and just kind of give you a little bit more information if you haven't read already. And then also, just as a side note, wanted to talk about FAB Online. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I just feel like, as someone who has at least a small platform, it'd be nice to give my thoughts on the tool as a whole, and where I think it fits into Flesh and Blood specifically and stuff like that. Well, actually, we'll do that first. If you want to, the Discord link is down in the description below. I haven't been doing a good job at promoting that, and I want to, because I want more people in there to be able to have a lot of good discussion. We have around like 240 members right now, so really nice. But would love to have some newer players in there, kind of get you into the community and just talking about it, whether you're a Ninja player or not, doesn't matter. Yeah, check that out. Before we get into Dynasty, which is really cool, I kind of wanted to talk about the Flesh and Blood Online platform, just for like a minute, and kind of give my thoughts on it. I've played on it a couple games, and I'll kind of give like the positives and then the negatives to the platform as a whole. The positives of the platform is it's amazing for just getting games out very quickly. It's way easier to use than Tabletop Simulator, and it's better to use if you don't have all the cards and you just want to try out new cards and stuff like that. It's really good for that. The people over there seem really nice. The kind of fan made project. And the last thing that's really good for, I think, is it's really good for newer players because it helps you see priority windows, like for instance and stuff like that. And I think priority, honestly, is the hardest thing to teach in Flesh and Blood. It's the hardest thing that people have to learn, just because of how confusing it can be to actually like talk about how priority gets passed and when it gets passed. So it's really good for that. So if you're a newer player, I think it's actually a really good tool to use. If you're a seasoned player, it can be used for testing. I know Matthew Folks has been really adamant about it, which more than okay to do. I want to say that there's two kind of worries I have with the product. One is they're starting to get decently deep into statistics and like how many times you've played, pitched, or blocked with a card. Average damage per hand, average damage per game, average the efficiency of your blocks, right? Like how much damage did you do from an efficiency standpoint when it comes to block plus damage on the next turn, all that kind of stuff, and that's gonna do two things. One, just the platform itself, when it comes to in-depth statistics, can take away from what Flesh and Blood wants to do. Flesh and Blood wants, like the company, James White wants the game to be played in person. They want it to be an LSS or LGS feel. And they're not just saying like just webcam, like they want it to be face to face in person. I mean, that's their whole mantra. That's why the game is called Flesh and Blood. So I do think just the platform in general kind of goes against that, but where it really could cross the line. I think if the platform stayed as a way for you to learn the game, newer players understand priority windows, and just to play some simple games so you can understand and get a feel for the cards before you go buy, I actually think it's really useful. The second that you start bringing in one of these three things, the second you start bringing in-depth statistics, or like be able to like figure out the meta faster, the second you bring in tournaments or a ladder system, or the second you bring in pricing, the platform needs to go. That's just my opinion. I think it takes then at that point it's starting to take away from LSS's mission set, and what they're trying to do. And my personal belief, and it's kind of like the hard level one, a little bit harsh, is the second they bring in one of those three things in dev, I think LSS will can it. I think they'll move action to get rid of it. It is gaining a lot of traction, so I do think LSS is gonna have to like openly respond at some point. It's just going to get more popular, and they're going to have to make a choice on what they want to do. But overall, the platform is good. I'm sure the people who are working on it are amazing people. I haven't met them personally, and I'm not like downing the platform raw. Like I said, I've played games on it, and it's very useful. I'm just saying that the second it starts with pricing, ladders, or in-depth statistics to help solve the meta faster, that's when it's going to get nixed, because that goes against all three things that LSS wants to do with the online platform. So we'll see. But let me know what you think in the comments. It's definitely like I'm not like super contentious on it. Like if someone's all for it or all against it, like I'm kind of like a little bit. I'm just really objective of like where I think LSS is gonna put their stance on it, not where I stand on it per se. So that's neither here nor there. Um, I do like Yuki Lee Bender said this on her Twitter, and I totally agree with it. It's like I'm just kind of like the reason I love Flesh and Blood so much is because people haven't figured out the meta. It's not like Magic where we know every little card and every little detail of every little piece of the meta. Like it's kind of up in the air, and you can always have this rogue like feel in events. You know, someone can really surprise people. So I hope that stays, and I think a platform like this could possibly hurt that. But into more fun stuff, talking about Dynasty. This came out on September 2nd. They had one day a 1 day kind of delay on announcing stuff. And right now, Dynasty is set to release November 11th, which is the first thing I want to talk about. It's set to release after Worlds. So, what are my thoughts on the fact that the set will not release until after the World Championships, after Nationals, and we're just gonna kind of be stuck in the meta that we're in for the next, 3 months, arguably. Um, I think that it's a two-edged sword, right? I think if it would have came right before Worlds, like let's say a week before, let's say last week October, like I think the reason it's getting delayed is because of shipping and because of manufacturing issues and stuff like that. Which we're in a pandemic, it's completely viable and it makes sense. I'm not going to fault them for that, and LSS has done a good enough job at giving us content so far. So I know it's not them just being lazy or wrong. I think it's truly just something they can't help. But it's a double edged sword because if Dynasty would have came out the week before Worlds, I think it would have created. I work in esports, right? I know most people don't know my actual personal life, but I work in esports, I work in marketing in the esports industry, and we've had times where like a major game like Call of Duty or Overwatch, Rainbow Six, you name like a major esport, and they have like a really big game patch like the week before the World Championships, and it just makes everything. They change like what guns are good, what guns are bad, movement system, something like that, and it just makes the World Championship really like haphazardy, which some people like. Some people are like, I love to adapt, I love to do this, but then a lot of people actually have the thought process of it. It just hurts the competitive integrity of the event, and so I think releasing a set like this could like a week or two before Worlds could possibly hurt the competitive integrity of the event. So it's like a double edged sword, right? I think you have to do it one of two ways. Either you release Dynasty like mid October, early October, and give people a full month to figure out the meta, figure out cards and such, and things of that nature, or you just wait till after. And the other thing about Worlds, it's really kind of like the kicker here is they're doing draft, they're doing blitz, and they're doing CC. And so if you give them a new set even a month before, like you have to relearn, two formats. Draft won't be applicable because it's not a draftable set, but you'll have to relearn blitz and like meta and CC meta, and that's just a nightmare. So I think it's a double edged sword. Every person has their own opinion. I personally think it's fine that they're waiting. Like I said, I think they either would have had to give it out at the beginning of October, which is just not feasible, or afterwards. So there's that. But Dynasty is an expansion booster set. It takes you inside the Imperial Palace of Volcor with the Emperor. Uh, Play as the Emperor and defend your dynasty against a rebellious uprising and sweeping the land. So I'm not a huge lore junkie. I want to be, but I just haven't taken the time to look into it like DM Armada has, like Red Zone Rogue has, like Flake and all those guys. And I really want to, so I can talk about it more on that stance. But from what I know, the Emperor himself is one of the most iconic figures in Flesh and Blood lore wise, like the most iconic, one of the most. And it's really interesting to me. Like I know he can summon Command and Conquer, but he only can play red cards. And it costs 2 to summon Command and Conquer and then play it, which will then also cost 2. So I'm wondering how like he's gonna be able to consistently play. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Is consistently play that card. Um, it's just gonna be interesting, but nonetheless, in lore, very very influential individual. Talks about key dates here. Card season preview starts November 1st. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a spoiler. Maybe not. If not, it's totally fine. 247 card set, one fabled, 5 legendary, 51 majestic, 81 rares, 109 commons, and 14 marvels. The marvels will be like the alternate art of some of the majestics and such, and legendary. So like this is a Marvel legendary, which is pretty crazy. So I'm assuming like all 5 legendaries will have a Marvel version, is my guess. Um, And then you have like 9 Majestics maybe that have a Marvel version. So we'll have to see. Even some of the rare dragons had Marvel versions, right? So it all depends. 10 cards per pack, 24 cards per display. And the MSRP is 109. So, you know, the Marvels, I love that they're bringing this back and that they're making kind of a thing for collectors to be able to chase after. The Crown Dominion is really interesting. Your hero is now royal. So now any hero in the game, if it has this headpiece, can be royal. So your hero is now royal. When you equip Crown Dominion, create a gold token. And then if we go to, before we get into like, oh, it's the wrong one. Before we get into the story, gold tokens read action, pay 2, destroy gold, draw a card, right? So with Emperor, it's gonna be interesting because unless he has something that gains him resources, automatically, you're gonna have to pay 2 cards to draw a card. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how that happens. But it's gonna be interesting to see if any hero can abuse these gold tokens and have that headpiece. You only can do it once, right? You only can create a gold token once from the crown. You When you equip Crown Dominion, you create a gold token. So you start with 1 gold token. Now, if there are other ways to make gold tokens, we'll have to see. Um, but overall, it's kind of a really interesting thing. But looking into the Emperor more, like they go through his whole lore here, and definitely go to the FAB website and check it out. There's a couple different parts of it without knowing every little ounce of the lore, like just things that stood out to me. Um, in the first part of the story, it talks about how he's standing before his ancient altar, and his eyes take in like all of the history of it and things like that. And then it says here, muffles whispers scratched at the glass of like near the altar, and the emperor is too familiar with those insidious promises. They are sovereign's blessings and his curse. He has listened to them since he was a young man, long before he took the throne of his father. Today he wishes they would be silent. And he's talking about like the altar that he is looking at up here of the glass altar. For the supreme act of will, he turns his back on the altar and empties his mind of those certain temptations. He crosses the chamber to where the imperial crown lies before a bed of velvet, and remembers how it felt that first time that it was placed upon his brow. So the reason I think this might be useful is like the altar apparently is very polarizing and very huge, and a big deal. And so this is total wild guess. I think the altar is gonna be the fabled. That's my opinion. We'll have to see if I'm right or wrong, or completely off base. But I do think there's a good chance. Some people are saying the throne room itself could be the fabled because usually it's a landmark. I think it's gonna be, or a gem. I usually think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the altar. That's just my initial thought. We also know that the Emperor is a wizard warrior, royal wizard warrior. And then we have the second hero that's been leaked, or like revealed, but not the class. And it kind of looks like a guardian, kind of looks like a warrior. It's his captain. I think they talk about him in here. Um, if it's somewhere, they talk about him in here where the captain, he lights all the torches so his captain can sniff out people and like find them. It's right here. So that Yoji, his captain of the Imperial Guard, might execute justice upon the dishonorable. Some people are saying it could be Guardian. Some people are saying it could be Warrior. I think it could be both. Like, he's a wizard warrior. Why couldn't his captain be a Warrior Guardian? It actually would make complete sense for him to be a Warrior Guardian. I mean, wouldn't a warrior be protecting his warrior king? You know what I mean? That's just the way I look at it. I don't. My guess is he's going to be a warrior guardian. They're going to mix the two classes. Which think if that's true, like even if he's just a young hero, think of the access of equipment that this man will have if he's a warrior guardian. Like he can use so much tank equipment, it's actually stupid. So it's gonna be really interesting to see if that happens. But yeah, so it goes through the lore, goes through some of the story of how he got to where he is. The story is that the Emperor is the one who united the Volkai and the Drakai. The Volkai and the Drakai were fighting a lot. This Emperor's dad or father kind of like let it slip through his fingers as far as the fighting, and he kind of brought them back together, which kind of leads to like the Dromai and Defy lore, which you got to check that out. So all this, to kind of talk about how polarizing this Emperor is, right? And then it goes into like the hero highlight. It's the greatest wizard of this volatile land has ever seen. Cities burn at his command. The earth trembles with the might of his army. So very big, very big figure in the scene. And it's really interesting that I know he can just summon, command, and conquer, but lore wise, he seems like this unbelievable figure. And like his ability is he only can play red cards, and he has to pay 2 to play to go get command search your deck for command and conquer, attack with it, then shuffle. Or he pays 3, sorry, to search your deck for command and conquer, attack with it, then shuffle. I'm assuming you don't have to pay for command and conquer's cost, but it doesn't say you don't have to pay for command and conquer's cost. Um, I'm assuming you just do. So you can pay 3 to basically attack with command and conquer at any point, but you may only have red cards in your deck. So unless you have some way of getting cost reduction or resources, it's going to basically cost 3 cards in your hand to play Command and Conquer at any point. So what to see. There are a couple really cool. He starts at 15 as well, which is even nuttier to be honest. They have stuff like Imperial Warhorn, which is one of the legendaries in this set. So now we've seen 2 legendaries in the set in a way. Like we've seen the Imperial Warhorn and we've seen the headpiece. Like so, we already have 2 legendaries like that we've been shown. So that's pretty nice. But Imperial Warhorn reads like you pay 1, destroy it, choose any number of and it costs 2 to play it, so 3 total just to use its ability. Choose any number of heroes. Each of them chooses an ally, aura, item, or landmark permanent they control. Destroy the permanent chosen this way. So this is a really good Ultimate Pit Fight card, is my first thought. But this would have a lot of tech against Icelander and against Briar. Briar, you could destroy Channel Mountain Rogue. You just put this out before they play Channel Mountain Rogue. The second they play Channel Mountain Rogue, once they pass to you, you use your action point to destroy Channel Mountain Rogue. Right? Or you do something that's like go again, pay 1, destroy Channel Mountain Rogue. So it'd be pretty freaking stupid. It also could get rid of like Frost Hexes and stuff like that, or Insidious Chills, I believe it could get rid of as well. So even something like an Amulet of Ice if you wanted to. So really powerful legendary. And Ultimate Pit Fight, this will just be hilarious to play. Because if you're a Royal, instead you choose the permanent. So you choose what they destroyed. So if you're Emperor of Drakai of Easter, you're going to be able to destroy all the people's stuff in Ultimate Pit Fight. But overall, it's a really cool set. It's a really big set. It's huge. 274 cards in comparison to the other expansion sets or supplemental sets. I'm pretty sure it's way bigger. So that's really interesting. But yeah, the set looks dope. I love it. I love the theme and the thematic. I love the thematics of Uprising. I think it was my favorite set in Flesh and Blood so far, period, when it comes to just the thematics of it and how it looks. So definitely excited for this set. It's a little ways off till we get it, but we'll have to see, what spoilers we get from here on out. Yeah, let me know what you think of the set. Let me know what you think of Dynasty as a whole. And kind of, get your thoughts on it. It's really interesting set. It's kind of like one of those sets where it could just be like very Ultimate Pit Fight based, or we could see more from it, and it could be way more, you know, way more interesting and powerful than we think. And with how big the set is, it might be really interesting to see if it actually just, completely changes the game. But we'll have to see. Overall, hopefully you all enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. I know there's a lot of information in this video, but I really wanted to just, have a conversation about it. Hopefully you got this far. If you did, you're amazing. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to our Flesh Bug career, do it for them so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Make sure to join the Discord if you want, and I'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all so much.